Hello everyone, Ellen Woodbridge here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and welcome back to card 3 of my Cheerful Daisies class. I have grabbed out basically everything we are using in today's card, except for one thing, but that's okay. I can put my hand on it really quickly. This is the colour palette: Pebble Path, Wild Wheat, Berry Burst, Garden Green, and Pretty Peacock. This is the card, so you can see, I'll just move these ink pads out of the way for the moment. I have used the upcoming Deckled circles, so these will be available as of September 6, 2023. I have also used the Distressed 3D Tile Embossing folder. We will be using that together. That is also available on September 6th, and of course, I have used the dies and the stamp set. Now, just off to the side, I have 9 blocks with stamps on them today. So this, whilst it doesn't look like a stamp heavy card, it is actually a stamp heavy card, and I've got the Stamparatus ready to go. So that is 10 separate stamps I'm using out of 15 from the stamp set. So I'm pretty impressed with that effort, and we are doing a little bit of blending of our background. Where do we start? I think we might actually start with the stamping today. As always with my cards, I do tend to start from the top and work my way down. I had a friend, just while I pop all this stuff out of the way, I did have a friend mention this a little while ago, and I said I really truly have no idea where that came from, but it does, and that's what I do. So I have majority of my bits and pieces here, and I'm going to start with this die piece here. So this has majority of the flower shapes on it. So I'll bring back the stamp set. So we can use, in these dies, we can use it together, or we do have separate pieces. So we've got these two, and these, where is it? 1 and 2 that we can use together, and I'm using them in different ways. But yes, so we've got those. I've got the whole piece, and then I've got all the individual stamp pieces, both the solid and the line to use today. Okay, I'm going to grab these out of the way. I'm going to be doing majority of my stamping in Berry Burst. Now, I'm not worried at this point if I have those middle pieces or the extra bits in there, because I will be popping them out, but it's actually not going to make a difference to our stamping. Okay, I think I'm going to start with the outlines. Once again, doesn't really matter how we do this. So I try with this big flower to actually line up this more pointy petal here. I just find if you find one unusual petal to line up, and it's my hands. Now, with these, we aren't going for perfection. We are just going, and it didn't help that those leaves had moved, and that also didn't help either. It's all okay. So with this one, I try and line up these two that are connected here. That's kind of how I do it. So this is going to give our flowers a bit of connection. So you can see I'm just adding some detail. Wow. Sorry, everything almost ended up on the floor there, because as you know, these are actually real-time videos, despite the fact I do have a fair bit pre-prepped. These are real-time videos, and of course that one was the best one I have done. So now I'm going to come in with the solid stamps. Okay, and what we're going to do is stamp off. So using the same color ink, but stamped off. So once again, perfection is overrated, although I am going to give this a bit of a second stamping, which we can do. So it's not perfect, it's fine. It's meant to be a representation of the color and not actually be perfect. Sorry, I've got myself in a bit of a pickle here. Where am I? Here I am doing those two connected, and I think this one's going to be a whole lot better than the other one, but sometimes our flowers aren't totally perfect, and there are beautiful daisies in the world that have the variegation and some white in them. So that's how I'm taking them. So that is our petals done. Now, because Berry Burst is a colour that likes to get everywhere, I am going to be smart and close this up. Okay, so that is that done. Going to come in with our garden green now. We're going to forget that there is a bit of a, sorry, that one didn't want to close. That one didn't want to close. So the stamp, where's stamp set? So we just have one leaf in this stamp set, and I have used it on all the leaves. So I am going to, it's not necessarily meant to go with them all, and if you want a really, actually that one I want to be full strength. Okay, so that one's a nice full strength, and then I am going to stamp off. So if you want these much bolder, you can absolutely do that with a blending brush. Okay, and for this little baby one, I'm just going to go over it like that. So you can see there we have our greenery. Darker one, I didn't really want it darker, but I did want to camouflage those lines, and by the time we pop out the middle of the leaf, it will not look as dark, but it is going on our designer series paper, which is the Fresh as a Daisy paper, so it will look fantastic. So for our middle, I think I'm actually going to use crushed curry. So the wild wheat is this paper here, but I am just going to go a shade or two lighter, and for our flower centers use crushed curry. So I have two flower centers, which is this one and this one from in the stamp set. Now just let me have a look here. I could do stamped off or I could do full strength. I think I'm going to go whole hog and go full strength, because we're going to lose all the bits in the middle, and there is just going to be less yellow seen. Okay, so we're going to use the same stamp for these two, and that works really well. So that is fully stamped. Okay, now while I have my berry burst out, it would have been smart for me to use my Stamparatus, but that isn't always the case, especially when I had all those stamps to use on one image. But you can definitely see what you get out of that image. Now these blocks I just want to put out of the way here, and you do not need to see me clean these on a video, but trust me when I say my stamp chamois is going to get a real workout cleaning all of those stamps. Okay, so those dies can go off to the side. I've got my Berry Burst ink and I have my stamp positioning tool. So out of the dies, we do have this gorgeous label, which I really, really like this label. Very versatile for many, many sentiments. Now, I have previously made this jig so I can do lots of these. And we are going to make sure that is sitting straight in the jig, which it is. And take our Berry Burst ink. That is really good there. I do have that on my finger, so I'm going to have to be a little mindful or grab my alcohol. I think I do want, and I have this all over here, I think I just want to do this end a second time. So just one end. It will dry back really, really nicely. Sorry, I am just going to grab my cloth because I know how much ink is all over that ink pad. So I'm finished with that, and that is actually all our stamping done. So we've done our flower, we have done our sentiment. Just give me a second here to close this ink pad and do a little bit of cleanup. This is the reality of card making, especially with our red based colors. If you make a little bit of a mess can go a really, really long way to ruining a project. So I've wiped off the ink pad. Just use a little bit of hand sanitizer. It won't remove any staining, but what it does do is removes excess ink, which is kind of the name of the game. We want to get rid of that ink. So next in the lineup, so here's our card. I did do a little bit of blending on the outside of our Pebbled Path card base. So just to give it a little bit of depth. So I've got our Pebbled Path ink, and I've got my designated brown blending brush. So I use this for many browns in my collection. Now it probably went a little dark there, but that's okay. It is going to dry back, and we are going to have other elements on our project. And I also could have gone a little bit lighter in my hand. So sometimes even though you've got a lot of ink, you can go with a lighter hand like I have here, and then go progressively heavier as the ink transfers. So that's okay. It's just got a very nice variegated look here. I am darkening up some of those edges to make them match. I'm going to leave that there. That will dry back, and you can see the difference, but trust me, it will dry back. I'm actually questioning, that isn't Pebbled Path. What colour did I use? I would love to be, I think I may have used grey granite, but we are going to go different. I will grab out, I'll leave it, but I've used Pebble Path. I'm pretty sure I've used grey granite here. I did very bad job of looking at what I was using. So next I have used just one of our patterns from the Fresh as a Daisy designer series paper, and I have actually used the B side. So the A side is that gorgeous copper clay, Cajun craze background. And I flipped it over, which has our garden green and our pretty peacock. So that is going to make our flower pop beautifully. And then now these are our deckled circles, and I will show you exactly which ones I've used. I've also used wild wheat. So counting from the middle, I have used 1, 2, 3. I've used the 4th for the small, 5, 6, 7, and the 8th for under the flowers. So the 4th for our embossing and under the 8th for our designer series paper. So now I'm going to grab that embossing folder. Now this is our distress tile. Give you a bit of a closer look. It is a tile, but it's not. It's lighter in some areas and heavier in others to give that beautiful distressed look. So I'm just going to throw it randomly in there, and what will be just pop these off to the side, bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to put in hinge first. If you can't go hinge first, it does put a fair bit of pressure on the hinge of the embossing folder, and I have seen people split embossing folders. So you can see that is now beautifully distressed with our deckled edge. Okay, move these plates. Oh, they're not going to go where I want them. So I'm pretty sure we can now start assembling. I'm just going to pop these to the side where hopefully they won't hit the floor. So we have our multi-purpose glue. So I'm going to now kind of go bottom up, and I have my thick basic white card base. And would you believe my glue is not going to play ball? I'm going to hopefully persuade it with a pin. I actually think I'm on the very end of this actually, which is not good for a video, but hey, real life, real time crafting. Okay, so we have our blended card base. Now I have gone a bit rogue, and rather than using the grey granite, I have used pebbled path, but we are still going to get a fantastic result. I am then going to put down my distressed tile 3D embossed deckled circle, and I did just put my finger in that glue. When I do that, I do happen to wipe it on the back of my hand, because the back of my hand is not going to touch my project. Okay, now these are all going down flat, so just using our multi-purpose glue. I think I would like the garden green portion to go where our leaves, or around the area where our leaves will be. Now these two pieces, actually I need to bring in my piece of foam and my take your pick crafter's pick, and I did have it here, or I could use in the die is my recommended time to use the die brush. I find if I use it on the paper now, I do have a very big tendency to curl my die cuts, which isn't always what we want to do. So you can see how that has come out beautifully, and we do have our hook here. So I'm just going through and popping the bits out. Now sometimes in some of my projects I have wanted to keep all these holes in, or as many as I could in. In this project I would really like the background of the designer series paper to show through and show definition in the project. So I think I've just got one there holding on, one there holding on, and other than that I think everything is out. So that wasn't too painful. I will put the hook back on, grab my dimensionals and flip over and pop some on. So I think we'll be using a mix of our minis and our larges, our large ones rather. Oh, I do have a couple more pieces here that don't want to come off. Okay, so let's get going. I know I can fit a couple of large ones around, maybe not. Maybe we pop this back and we just use our mini dimensionals. Then that way we know we aren't popping through the edges and creating a visual disturbance that we don't want to. So I'm thinking 3 will be a nice balance for this larger flower. Maybe even a 4th there because we do have the other flower. Okay, now this is where we start to get a little creative and very precise. So you just see where you can fit them. If you feel you need to cut them in half, cut them in half. That's fine. They also don't need to be exactly at the same height. If the top of this cone flower wants to dip in a little bit, it dips in a little bit and it's not at the same height as the petals, because flowers in real life aren't like that. Okay, and this one can go in here. I do maybe just want a tiny bit for this petal here, which will then hold up. Ooh, that flew. So I've just cut a little edge to go down here, which will hold up the top of this flower as well. Okay, let's see if I can get this backing off, and I can. Great. So that can just go there. You can do that with any of the others as well that you feel, but I'm pretty happy with my placement. I'm just now going to use that crafter's pick to remove the backings. So I am actually leaving these leaves totally alone. They are not going to have any dimension. If I feel I need to tack any down with a little bit of liquid glue, I will. Okay, these last few don't really want to come off. This one, come on. Thank you. Sometimes you have to talk to your craft supplies nicely. And then they decide to do exactly what you would like. So let's bring in this card. Pop those over to the side, and I do kind of want this flower here to overlap into this one. So it's kind of spanning both of our flowers. And this one's coming off a little bit, which is all great. And this is sitting actually really nicely without me doing anything. So our sentiment. Now this one I can use our larger dimensionals for. We'll grab out this one that jumped out earlier. So I think I just need 2 dimensionals here. It's totally stuck to my hand with a little backing piece. It's totally stuck to my finger. Okay, let's do this. And then we are going to grab some of our tinsel gems to finish off the card. Now, you're going to have to tell me in the comments of this video whether you prefer the grey granite background or the pecan pie. They do both give a slightly different look. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now, they are not the tinsel gems I want, and I swore I had them out already, but alas I didn't. So these are the 4-pack of tinsel gems, and these are the berry burst ones just down here, and we're just going to add a couple. So I am going to grab our crafter's pick tool again. I use it for lots of things on my projects. Okay, so that one just there. Just pop this up a bit so you can see. Just going to use a big one up here, and then just 2 little ones. Doesn't want to go. Please excuse my computer there. And this one just here, just so your eye concentrates on the sentiment as well as encompassing the flower, so that triangular trail really, really works. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have used to create these cards. Don't forget, grey granite or pecan pie. Tell me which you prefer. So we have used and this is if I can find the dies under everything. We have used a Cheerful Daisies bundle, which is the stamp set and the dies. We have also used the Deckled circles dies. So we used the 4th and the 8th die there. And we used the Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper. I will also grab back out all of the colours that we used. So we used Pebbled Path, Berry Burst, Crushed Curry for the flower middles, Garden Green for our greenery, Wild Wheat for our embossed piece with the distressed embossing folder, and Pretty Peacock, which is in the designer series paper and just gives lovely depth to the project. And we did that little bit of embossing with the distressed 3D tiles, and both the Deckled and the distressed embossing folder will be available as of September 6th. If you're in Australia and would like to purchase off me, I would love you to. Thank you so much for supporting my business by purchasing this class, and I do hope to see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.